Hello, this is Sally Battis from Sally Bead Jewelry, and I'm going to be giving a demo today on making a hollow braid that's made with wire, and you insert crystals or 6mm pearls inside the hollow braid. So anyway, I have one that I've started already, and but for demo purposes I'm going to show you how to get started. And so what we have here is I have some short pieces of wire folded in half that I'll be using for the demo, but your pieces that you'll cut will be 30 to 31 inches long, folded in half. You'll also need some round nose pliers, flat nose pliers, the pliers with the nylon grip on them so that you can straighten the wire if you need to. You're going to use a dowel, and the dowel is going to have an eye ring on the tip of it, and I've also tapered the end of the dowel with a pencil sharpener just to get you going, and I also have it marked with 1-inch increments. I think I mentioned the wire cutters, and the other thing is that what's really handy to have is a pair of these little gloves that have a grippy texture on the inside. It really helps with holding on to the wire, because your hands can get kind of sore without it. So anyway, you're going to start out with your pieces of wire folded in half, and I usually just kind of place them on the disc with the loop towards the inside, and you're going to put one on each of the dots where you're going to put the wire on either side of the dot. And let's do. I found that it's just easier to put the wire on before you start working with the dowel, because otherwise the dowel just gets in the way while you're trying to get the disc set up. So as you can see, I have all 4 of them in there, and then I'm just going to take the dowel with the loop, and I'm just going to insert it into the 4 loops that I have there, and then you can kind of pull them just so that they're taut in there. And then I like to attach one of these little key fobs to the end so that I have something to hold on to when I'm very first starting out. And so I'm just going to hook it on that little loop, and then I'm going to put the gloves on and show you the moves. So working with the wire, of course, it is a little dense. There are some other videos out there that mentioned to use 20 gauge wire, and I tried using 20 gauge wire, and my hands were killing me at the end. So I've gone down to the 22 gauge, and I think it works very nicely. I've also done this one, which is the 24 gauge, that has the plastic wire wrap around it, and I have pearls in this one. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to start off by taking the top left wire, and you're going to cross over one and place it on the top, and then you're going to take the middle one, you're going to lift it and place it to the right of the bottom, and then again you're going to keep taking the middle one, and you're just going to go clockwise around the disc. Then you're going to take the right cord, and you're going to go counterclockwise around the disc, always taking the center wire to move. And then after you've done all of your moves, there should be 2 slots open on either side of the dot. You're going to reposition the wires to the starting gate where you're going to be in that one slot on either side of the dot. Okay, and I'll go around one more time. And so you're going to lift and pull, place it in the slot. You're going to take the one from the middle. They do get in the way sometimes. You're going to lift and place, take the one from the middle. You're going to lift and place, and then take the one from the middle and lift and place. If for some reason, you know, you stop in the middle of this and you don't know where you are, if you look at the disc and there's only one empty slot, you've only gone around once, the clockwise. Now you need to go back around counterclockwise. So you're going to start with number 1, and you're going to go over, and you're going to take the middle one. You're going to come down, you're going to take the middle, and you're going to go over and take the middle and go back up. So now you know that you've finished both rotations, and you're going to reposition the chords back to their original spots. So when you do that, I like to kind of over accentuate the movement so that it gets nice and tight around the dowel. You can see I'm kind of moving it, just kind of placing it close to the dowel, just to keep it nice and tight and uniform. Okay, so that is the actual movement. It's actually, you know, pretty straightforward. And now that I've done that, just to show you how to get started, I'm going to switch over to the one that needs to be finished. So you'll see that the weave here is pretty tight. There's not a lot of space in between the little cross marks, and that will be fixed when we take the dowel out. The dowel itself that was recommended in the original video that I watched said to use a 1/4 inch dowel. And I found that the 1/4 inch dowel is enough room to actually, you know, get your crystals in there. But it was a lot harder to work around. This wider one, which is about 3/8 of an inch in diameter, really does help with your braid. So when it's time to take it off, I like to take the cross wires here and lift up that corner angle, and then take the 2 wires and kind of give it a little bit of a twist. And then the same thing, remove the next 2 wires and give it a bit of a twist. And then the next 2, get that one out of the way, and give it a twist. And then the last 2, same thing, give it a twist. And then you can pull it off the disc. Once you have it off of the disc, you have to take the eyelet out to be able to remove the dowel from the inside. So you're just going to unscrew the little eyelet, and then you're going to kind of move these out of your way. Actually, you can trim them at this point if you want. Just trim them above where you did the twist, and that way you can get rid of this and not poke yourself in the eye. Okay, the other thing I wanted to mention is that this looks fairly short. It's only about 4 to 5 inches if I get it in camera range here. You'll see that it's about 4.5 inches. That's going to stretch quite a bit when I pull the dowel out, and after we insert the crystals in, we're going to get it out. You do have to kind of give this a good stretch to get it out of there. You'll see that I have it out. And there's a knife, it's kind of flexible at this point. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be elongating this around the crystals after we get them loaded. So I'm going to take the gloves off now because I don't need those anymore. And you're going to cut a piece of 20 gauge or even 18 gauge, as long as your crystals or your pearls that you're going to fit down the center need to be able to fit onto the wire. So you're going to want to test that before you get started. So this is where you're going to use your round nose plier, and you're going to make a small loop at the top. And I'm not the best at doing this, but you all know how to do a wire wrap, I'm sure. So you're just going to wrap that around a couple of times. And then I like to use a crimping tool to do the last bit of the wrap. It gives it a nice finish. Okay, and then you're going to take an 8mm inside dimension end cap, and you're going to insert the wire through the end cap. Make sure your wire is nice and straight. And then you're going to take the end of your braid that you just made, and you're going to squeeze the end of it just a little bit so that the end cap will fit over the end of it. And then you're going to take your wire and you're going to insert it into the middle, making sure to stay within the mesh, and the wire cap will fit over the end nicely. Okay, and then at this point is when you're going to load up your crystals, and these should all fit on this wire nicely. And I'm going to pause the camera while I get these loaded, and I will be right back. Okay, I am back, and I just have a few more to go. And if I didn't mention it before, these are 6mm wide crystals. And you can use pearls too, they look nice. And you'll notice when I put them down through the braid that they kind of stick out at the end, and there's a lot of room in between. So this is where you're going to stretch the braid. So I'm just going to put a little loop at the top just so that the crystals don't go flying when I'm doing this. And you're going to hold on to the base of it, and you're just going to take it and you're going to kind of stretch and squeeze and pull up on the netting, and you'll now see that they're nice and close to the crystals. There's no excess space. I'm going to re-put on the end cap and kind of push it forward. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take and bend it around to see if you like the size of it before you go much farther. So I'm just going to give that a test, and I think it looks pretty good because there's going to be the other end cap on it and some decoration. So I'm going to stretch it back out, and I'm going to undo that gentle curl that I just made. And then you're just going to kind of pull up on those and kind of cinch them forward. Then you're going to trim off the excess. You want the end cap to just kind of fit on the end here. So when you're doing this, make sure that you're not cutting the center wire that's through there, because that's what you're going to use as your closure. So you want to just trim off the excess, and then you can kind of pinch it in and try your end piece, because you may have to trim it again if it's, yeah, like mine looks like it's a little far away. So you can either take your pliers and kind of bend the wires going inward a bit, or you can just stip them down. It doesn't really matter which way you decide to do it. But again, just retest and make sure that it fits over the end and that fits nice and snug. Okay? Can you see that? And then what we're going to do here on the end is I'm going to use a decorative lampwork bead, and I'm first going to put on a size 8 seed bead just as a little spacer before I put on the bead. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make a hook. It's kind of like the wire wrap type hook that you would see on a safety pin. So we're going to fold about 1 inch to 1.25 inches away from the bead, and you're just going to bend that down. You're going to tighten it, squeezing the end, and then you're going to take your round nose pliers and you're going to first make a little bend going towards you, and then you're going to bend going away. And take a look at it. It looks like I could have made that a little bit shorter, so I'm going to open that back up and try again. It's not a perfect. This is where you get to use your straightener tool. Just put it on there and give it a pull. And I'm just going to do that a little closer so it's not so far away. Okay. And again, you're going to squeeze that down. And then take your round nose pliers, and first you're going to pull it towards you, reposition, and roll it away from you. And then you're going to take the end and you're going to bend it in the opposite direction. And then while holding it, you're going to wrap this piece around. Okay, and then you're going to trim off the excess. And then, like I did on the other side, I'm going to use my crimping tool, just the round section of it, not the part where you would actually crimp, but use that to finish rounding out and tucking in that last little piece of wire. And then you may need to straighten out the hook just a little bit and bend it back so that it looks like that. And then I like to bend the bracelet itself so that the hook would be facing my wrist. Because if you have it facing outward, you could catch it on things, and that's no fun to damage your clothes. So you're just gonna hook it like that, and that's your finished bracelet. So hopefully you'll like it. And you could put put any kind of bead in